Welcome to Qlick Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Kindred, and today I'm joined by two fantastic people, Peter and Tara. Peter Brewer, Tara Christianson. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
That is the first podcast where I've actually had the host who's jammed us in on a 6-string guitar. You were amazing on that guitar, Josh. That's
Thanks,
a talent
mate.
I wasn't aware you had that.
Mate, it's actually something I learned a little bit way back in the day, but I had to bring it back out when we started this podcasting gear. We're going to talk about some of my talents, but less so much about them, and we're going to talk about you. We're going to get to know you as a person. We're going to get to know Tara as a person. Podcast about people, property, and places.
Awesome.
Peter, kick us off. What are some of your special skills?
No.
How long does this podcast go for?
Maybe just before we go there, we should clarify how well do you guys know each other?
Oh. Well, I think we could say, let's run with intimately. There you go. That's probably a reasonable introduction.
Lovely.
Tara was lucky enough to meet me in about 2011 in the United States, and her life just hasn't...
And the same sense.
Okay.
She says she punches herself every day. I know she means she pinches herself every day.
Yes. And for those that aren't watching and viewing in through YouTube, there's this intimate look through the two of them at the moment.
Is it a look or a glare? I'm not entirely sure.
Let's go. Kick off. Peter, your talents, or just tell us about yourself as a person.
Mate, what are my talents? Oh, look, Josh, I love flapping the gums. I absolutely love introducing people. You know, I've been really lucky over my, some would say, 60-odd years, and they have been odd years on Earth. I've met some amazing people, and I reckon if we don't use that opportunity to introduce people to each other that can make differences in people's lives, we're missing out on huge opportunities. And so I love connecting people. That's one of my superpowers, I think, whether it's across the globe or across a suburb or across a room. I love doing that. I love connecting with people. You know, we're here for a good time, not a long time, so let's rock on. Let's have a bit of fun. That's me.
Yeah, cool. All right. Tara?
My superpower is living with him.
The ability to.
The ability to do that on a daily basis.
Well, let's kick off. Obviously, you got an accent.
I do. So I'm American, obviously. Y'all come back now, so I've got West Texas in me. And I think I've been in real estate since 2006 in America, and now over here, obviously, for 5 years now. So I am a nerd. I am just a big old nerd. Anything that has to do with shiny things and technology and online and whatever, I want it. I want to play with it. I want to touch it. I want to see if it works for people. And then I love kind of translating that into ways that people can actually use that to make their lives better or make their businesses better, especially. So that's what I really like doing. Very
good. So we've got a nerd and a people guy.
Yeah, a bit like that. Yeah, it's surprisingly, it's a really good mix thus far. Yeah. Something that a lot of people aren't aware of, Tara, is that she has actually moved 31 times.
Wow.
So, you know, not just once to Australia, but 31 times across the United States. So,
wow.
And England, yeah. So, yeah.
So you mentioned that you've been in real estate since 2006, was it?
Yeah.
And when you say you're in real estate, and you sort of then put a little asterisk next to that you're just a massive nerd. What do you mean? How do you be a massive nerd in real estate?
I think even from the beginning, I was really lucky when I first joined real estate because it was a bad time in America. It was when basically everything crashed, especially in housing, and we had to learn new ways of marketing. And I was really lucky because I got to meet people in my area who were at the forefront of learning how to use digital marketing.
Right.
And I learned from them. Like, I just went everywhere they went, and I listened to the people they told me to listen to. And, you know, I kept learning and learning and learning. And it was awesome because I was given that opportunity. And I think that's really what I love about real estate, is that it's this community.
Right.
And there's so many really amazing people and talents and things that are across that industry that if you take the time to sit back and listen and learn from the people that are around you, there's no limit to what you can do. And that's one of the best things about this business, is there's absolutely no limits to what you can do.
Yeah, cool. Peter, your background has obviously touched real estate. Is it what your day-to-day job is?
No, it's not. It was for 35 years of my life. Day-to-day real estate was my job, and I absolutely loved it. I loved that people side of the business. But I guess after 35 years, I became, and some of your listeners will relate to this, I became that tired, cranky, crusty old real estate agent that people walked in the door and said, "Who's that grumpy old bastard sitting over there?"
I still ask that.
Actually, nothing's really changed. And so I thought it was time to reinvent myself. And so I sold the business. I retired. I thought that would be good. I played golf for 3 weeks, realised I was absolutely crap at golf, and reinvented myself. Around 2008 was the early stages of social media.
Okay.
I spent some time in the States and went, our industry really needs to embrace this. This is the next evolution of marketing. And so I spent a fair bit of time in the States and came back here and set up websites and blogs and digital media companies, all kind of stuff across Australia, trying to educate an industry, the real estate industry, on the effective use of a new tool. And that's what the last 10, 12 years for me has been, and I absolutely love it. So much opportunity to mix the old style of real estate with the new opportunities around technology and to engage with today's consumer. So that's kind of, that's my passion, is tie real estate and technology, and you got me, baby. That's me, it's boom, done.
Beautiful. So both of you are working in the industry, but not specifically as agents. We like to get to learn, I suppose, about you as people, but also I think one of the ways that through this podcast people can learn is also individuals' property journey. So I'd love to know about it. I mean, moving 31 times, what's that like? And has there been a property journey that's then informed you to how you might then market to the consumer? And likewise for you, Peter, how you might have developed some of those soft skills into how we then pass that on in a marketing way. So, Tara, tell us about your property journey.
Well, it's interesting because I actually have never owned.
Wow.
Ever. Still to this day. And partly it's because of moving so much,
right? Yeah.
Right? You almost don't even get a feel for where you are. And then every place, the places that I most probably would have bought something was too expensive.
Okay.
So to invest in. So I am looking at an investment property in Florida. So that's one of the things that I'm working on right now that I currently rent.
Yeah.
And then it's actually like a rent to own type of thing.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing for me with moving that much is that you get a really good empathy for people and how hard it is to move every time. Like emotionally, what it means, especially as a kid, having to change jobs and places and make new friends and create new communities and really get a sense of things. And that home is really what you make it. It's not a specific place. Like I envy Peter a lot because like he'll drive me around and be like, that's where I went to school and that's where my first house was and that's my second house and there's this, and I can't do that. Like we'd have to go all over America and England to be able to do that, and each one has different memories with it, but it's not a place I would go, hey, and this is my home. And so I think that's it really kind of changed my sense of what home is for people. And that sometimes a house is just a house, but also that sometimes a home is really the things and the heart and the love and the passion that you put into kind of creating it to be your own safe space in the world. And then when real estate people come in, what they do is they create communities really for people because they're putting people into places next to each other, into neighborhoods next to each other, and they really change the dynamic, right? And it really creates and changes the dynamics of these different places. And so I think for me, moving that much, not only can I ask him, I can pack up a house and unpack a house like that, like no time flat. Like the smell, people's like, what's the smell of your youth? And I'm like, cardboard boxes, because that's what it reminds me of. Every time I smell a cardboard box, I'm like,
right.
ooh, we're moving. Time to move again. But I think it really helped a lot with really understanding the stress and the emotions that go into it.
Yeah, of course.
And then when I was an agent, being able to kind of look at it from that perspective and help people on that journey. But now from this side of things, not only understanding where agents are coming from, of course, but also then where their clients are coming from. And how do we then make that whole journey for people, both for agents and for their clients, as seamless and easy as possible.
Yeah, it's my exposure to real estate agents. Sometimes you say, why do you want to be in real estate? And they say, I just love property. You think, well, what do you love about property?
Yeah.
But to hear you talk so much about the people and the community that it develops, it's that emotional journey that really.
Absolutely.
so much for Australian property, you know, that great Australian dream, or being able to drive past, say that was my first home. It's not so much the property as such, but it's that emotional attachment we have, isn't it? Yep. Peter, tell us about your property journey from the start.
Oh, Lord.
Well, can we count it up in terms of stamp duty? That's probably
Don't say that word. That's an anti-word here.
My property journey probably started when I was about 21. I was pretty keen on real estate early up, and coming from a real estate family, that's kind of just bred into you. Right. But for me, it's just it started with a very average little townhouse down at Thornside that I purchased, I think, for about $44,000. I think the developer actually lent me the $4,000 deposit to get started, and that just gave me that springboard to say, this is security. It's somewhere to call home. It's an investment that grew, I don't know, by $15,000 or $20,000 in a short space of time. I went, this is pretty good. You don't get that in the Commonwealth.
Oh, you're a genius.
Absolutely. And I went on to the next one, was $63,000, then $163,000, then $350,000, then $1.5, and you just keep acquiring these properties on the way through, and it's so there's the financial investment as well, which is the security of that.
Yeah.
But it's somewhere to call home. It's somewhere. It's the memories of family. It's all that stuff. And I think sometimes we in our real estate industry miss that piece. We miss the understanding of spending 2 moons in the consumer's moccasins. That the asset that we're selling for them is actually their home. There's life. There's stories, and we should treat that with a whole lot more respect than we probably do. So, look, it's been really, really kind to me, and I just love that ownership of property. It's just somewhere to call home. It's safety, it's security. And I think all of us want the comfort of that roof over our head, whether that's, I guess, in Tara's case, renting somewhere or whether it's owning somewhere. I love the story you tell about your mum, Vicky, who's got, and I'm going off track here,
No,
Josh,
do it. Go for it.
But I love the story of Vicky, your mum, who's got all cutouts of. She's got graph.
She had graphing paper of every place that we were moving into, and she had it by measurements of every place, and so she actually had cutouts of every piece of furniture that we had, including like little stools and things. And she would, before we would move, like while we were in the process of moving, before the movers came back to the new place, she would actually tape down exactly where everything was supposed to go, all the pieces of furniture in the new place.
She was a pro.
Oh my gosh. And she'd be like, everybody freeze. And we'd like freeze. And she's like, I've lost a stool. And you're like, okay. And you're looking for this tiny thing that's like smaller than your fingernail, that's somewhere around. And okay, we got to find the stool,
That's fantastic. The emotional journey that people go on, it's really interesting that's what comes out to the table when we ask about property. So now let's go back to the nerd and the marketing and the introducing of people. How do you bring out that emotional journey and those drivers, which really is what drives us as humans, through marketing and specifically through social media?
I think you understand. You've got to listen in this business. You've got to listen to what's important to people, whether it's the seller and what that property meant to them and what was special and what was important about that property, but also then what means something to a buyer. Do they want, is it a raw investment they're looking for? Is it just about the bucks, or is it about somewhere to call home? Is it about convenience? Is it about a safe and secure place to raise the family? So I think it's about listening.
Yeah.
What does that property offer? What does that consumer want? What does it love about selling it? What does the buyer really want for in acquiring that asset? So I think it's understanding those pieces, then absolutely, excuse the expression, milking that for all it possibly can be to absolutely dynamically display those benefits or features.
And I think too, it's two parts for me too. Is that number one is that you need to keep the social media, and it's there's absolutely an advertising piece that should be used, especially
Say
nowadays.
that again. You need to
keep the social media.
Right. Cool.
And there's an advertising piece which is very important, absolutely, and I think it should be leveraged even more than it already is. But there's also that social piece, the people piece. And it's interesting because even on Instagram, the most liked pictures are pictures of people. Right. That's the most engaged with images across Instagram feeds is pictures of people. Think about that, and when we market, what do? We usually put up a sold sign with, or a house or something like that.
Yeah.
But instead, putting the people back into that and talking about storytelling and using that to tell the stories behind how we solve problems every single day in everything that we do, but especially in real estate, right? We solve people's problems, whether it's, I need to have money now, or I need to move by a specific time, or I need a new house, please help.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, right? We solve their problems, but we don't really tell the stories behind it. We just show kind of the property marketing part of it. So I think, to me, that's part of it, is that social piece. And especially, like Peter said, like kind of piggybacking off of that, is listening, but then really targeting then, right? Not trying to please everybody, but realizing that there are specific people really that you like working with.
Yeah,
And that you really want to work with, and that make you feel good to work with, right? And no, we're not going to have that person every single day, right? But if we at least concentrate our efforts, especially in the marketing space, towards attracting those people to us, you know, and also putting out the information that they're going to want to be there. And it's not just when they're in that whole buy, sell, rent, invest cycle. It's in everything else, right? It's outside of those spaces as well. I think because Peter talks about, you know, they see us as a necessary evil. And it's partly because they don't think about us until they need us, right? And it's like, oh, now I have to go to real estate, right? But it's really, we can be there every single day because we are part of the community, because we have answers to a lot of the questions that they may have even in their daily lives because of that wealth of knowledge that we have. And I think we don't demonstrate that enough in our marketing in general and on social media as well.
You mean the real estate agents are people?
Yeah, I know, right? Newsflash.
But it is that listening part. You know, I think some of the best transactions I got involved in where people actually trusted what I was about, understood that I was actually listening to try and solve their problem, and then solve their problem for them. Right. Once you've got that trust and people say, okay, cool, you understand what problem are they trying to solve? What do they want to change about their life? And you know, and this is cliched, but it's so true of our industry when people say, oh, I'm looking for a 4-bedroom high-set brick that's got 4 bathrooms, and then they buy a 2-bedroom low-set townhouse.
Yep.
But when you listen to what they really understand, what's going to change their lives, and you've got the ability to show them that piece of property or solve that problem, and you watch the lights come onto their eyes, and you go, yes, and it's what I love about this industry, and now I'm getting really passionate. But I love this part about our industry, that we've got that capacity to change people's lives or to solve their problems. And I don't think about the dollars, and I think we should, as an industry, forget about the bucks. Solve the problems. The dollars just follow themselves. But love and look after people. Treat them like human beings and walk them through a process. And it's kind of simple. So, you know, I think we've managed to, my dad years ago said, we've managed to complicate a really simple business of finding a buyer, finding a seller, and putting them together.
Yeah, ask a few questions and listen to people, care about them.
Care.
So when it's so simple, how to asking the nerd of the room, that's not you, Peter. You know, what's the need for so much technology, and is it all needed, and is it the way that the industry is going to go completely, or are we already there?
I think that some technology solves for a problem that hasn't been invented yet.
Right. Okay.
So
yeah,
they're like, hey, look at this new shiny thing that we've created. And you're like, cool, what problem does it solve? Don't know yet, but I'm sure it's coming. You know, it's like,
we'll create the problem now.
Yeah, exactly. We'll find it though. So I do definitely think that there's that's happening, especially right now, because the tech space is it's expanding at a rapid rate right now. And I think it's really important, especially for prop tech and those kinds of companies, to really think about that. You know, does this actually solve a problem, an existing problem?
Yeah, does this help our real estate agents listen better to the customer's needs?
And cut through the noise. So that's part of it. Data has become one of the most important things that's out there. And we collect it on a regular basis as real estate agents, but so do the companies that we work with. And knowing how to actually use that data to listen, but also to target and individualize and tailor our marketing can happen. And it absolutely, you know, is available, and it's out there. Those tools are out there right now. A lot of times what really not irritates me, but it's just, it kind of flabbergasts me, is that people don't, there's an old word for you, right?
I like it.
Flabbergast. But it's true. I get amazed by the fact that they have these beautiful tools at their hands and they only use a very small portion of it. You know, there's this, you know, huge contact management system that's got beautiful templates built in, and emails built in for campaigns and for individual groups and things like that. And all I've done is dump like 20,000 names into one place and hope that, hope that it hits somewhere, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's basically like taking a big airplane with a whole bunch of flyers, right? And dropping it over a neighborhood and just hoping that the right person picks it up at the right time, right? And that's pretty much what it does. And the thing is, it's there, and they don't take the time, or they don't understand that the time that they might invest to invest in a person who will help them along that path is actually a really good investment and will give them that return on investment. That's
Josh.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I reckon we've passed the revolution piece of this technology in real estate, and I think we're into the evolution piece. I think there's, the drastic changes of websites and social media, 2000 to kind of 2007, 2008, probably into 2010. There was that revolution. It's all this new stuff. But now I think we're starting to evolve. And I think Tara's point is right. We're creating, solutions for problems we haven't identified yet. But they will evolve over time. But also look at some of the tools that are being created and go, we've still got these magnificent databases that we still can't get real estate agents to fill in the basic fields beyond first name, last name, email address, telephone number. So we've got all these tools, but people still aren't using them effectively. But they will evolve over time. We'll find better ways to integrate that data in there, whether we get other people to do it. But also I think we've got to think about the behaviours. And I look at the behaviours of my parents in their 80s through to myself in my, late teens.
60.
Through to my kids who are 27, 29 years of age and their behaviours. And so we're really careful that we don't kind of ignore what my kids expect as as technology use these days. I tell a story where if I want to talk to my son Sam, I pick up. So if I want to talk to my mum, I ring her, she answers the phone. Sometimes I want to talk to my son Sam, and I ring him, and it just goes to voicemail, and it texts back, and we have this conversation backwards and forwards. It's all via text.
And he's the next generation of property buyers.
100%. And so Sam or Lauren don't want to talk to people, and that's okay. Kind of. Every bit of communication is either text or email or Snapchat or Facebook or Instagram. And so our industry needs to understand that we've still got to change the behaviour.
And evolve.
Evolve.
Yeah.
But the revolution is over, I think. We just got to say it. The human element will always remain. It just will always remain. We can hide behind all the technology we like, but I've got to get out and shake hands with people and say, "G'day, champ, how are you?"
Well, it's been one of the catalysts for your all your success in life has been that face-to-face. And I think that's really, if you ask a real estate agent or even the consumer on the other side of the transaction, that it's when they're face-to-face with something that something really happens.
Belly to belly.
Ugh. I hate that saying.
It's a fantastic thing.
Such a horrible image.
Okay, so you don't have a belly, all right?
I don't want to be belly to
Are
belly.
they doing it? Are they doing? Are they using technology to? So when I think of technology in real estate, I think of that. So every Thursday, I got about 6 different emails that come through with different open homes, and that annoys the shit out of me. So I'm like, I don't trust you, delete. Don't trust you, delete. Don't trust you, delete. You completely why am I looking at property in Cairns? I'm in Brisbane, right? So we're using the agency is an agency using the technology, but they're actually diluting the trust, and it comes back. It's almost that they're not listening, which is what you were talking about. Listen and develop trust, and then we're using technology to almost polarize ourselves.
Oh, absolutely.
Spamming the crap out of people with irrelevant bullshit. That's the quickest way to turn me off is prove that you don't care.
You guys are so well travelled. Is there a place in the world that's doing this really well?
Oh, I don't think
like
there's
one
place.
location.
Is America doing this well? Is the East Coast doing it well? Is the UK, are they doing this well?
I think there are people in every
Yes.
place that are doing it
Okay.
well. So individual agents or agencies that really have moved back to that. But I think that there's one specific place on the map that I could go, hey,
Right.
move to New Zealand because that's where they're
Yeah,
doing
I
it.
think
like
it's
it.
fair to
Yeah.
say that the Yanks get an early look at most of this stuff because a fair whack of it comes out of Silicon Valley or the US, and so the Yanks get an early look at it, so they get a chance to be early adopters.
We're a bigger market too. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you look at the amount of Australian companies that are Australian prop tech companies that are going straight to the USA saying there's 330 million people, there's 1.7 million agents there as opposed to 25 million people here and 50 or 60,000 agents. So absolutely there's a bigger opportunity for them. So the Yanks get a better look at it or an earlier look at it, and then you've probably got some smart technology people there that have paid really good money who are teaching some US agents to do it really, really well.
Well, and I think the really good ones are the ones who haven't allowed technology to overtake what they keep doing on that regular basis, which is the face-to-face. It doesn't supplant that phone call or that meeting, right? It just is a way for them to actually create the time to go do that. And I think they also, the really good agents, part of what they've done is they use it for targeted marketing. They'd use it for, I had it, but I forget now. But I think part of it is that they also understand that this is like, I use that as a communication tool, or I use that as something that I can use to get in front of somebody instead. They're also to build their pipeline, which is the other thing. It's not for they understand that it's not just it's an immediate thing. Like I just need more leads. Yeah, exactly. It's I just need to nurture and create these relationships now. But if I create that loyalty, that trust, and I continue that over time, and I can use technology to actually help me do that, right, on a consistent basis, whether it's through reminders or, administrative assistants who are calling, or whatever it is, like that's really important. And that's where that relationship stuff never gets away from them. Like to me, you can use technology as a tool or technology will use you as a tool. Right. And we kind of get that mixed up sometimes.
You know what I think is the better answer to Josh's question on reflection, rather than geographically who's doing it better? I think it's the places, and this is going to sound like I'm patting your pocket a bit, Josh, but it's the places where there's leadership in that space. I think that's a really important thing. If I look at the franchise groups across Australia, potentially some of the associations or institutes, and the same thing in the US, it's the organisations, the business where there's true leadership saying, this is the path that we're going. And I looked downstairs, we walked into your reception area before, and there are 3 headsets for virtual tour goggles sitting in an office. And I'm sitting there going, wow, that is fantastic. And Tara and I get to walk into real estate offices across Australia, New Zealand, the United States on a regular basis. And that's the first time I've walked in now outside of DC and seen an office where there's leadership being shown and a company that's saying, here's technology that we can embrace that's going to make a better experience for the consumers, make it safer for your staff. So I think the leadership is where it's at. And I look at organisations potentially like Compass or Keller Williams or even one of the major franchises here in Australia where there is absolute genuine leadership, because people are looking for what's the right solution. For me as a real estate salesperson, what's the solution? Because there is so much stuff out there. What do I plug into first? What's the next big thing? Well, so it's really up to the leaders, whether it's at your level where you're doing an outstanding job, or whether it's companies like the organisations like the REIQ or the franchise groups, to be really clear and say, here's the leadership, this is the research we've done, and this is where we're going, let's go.
Well, and I think that when you're built on a really good foundation, you know your mission, you know your value statements, and you get the culture around you, you build the people who buy into that, whatever it is, right? Then you can fit the bits and pieces around it. The technology and everything else, the marketing, everything else then feeds kind of into that. But you have to have that foundation. If you don't have that foundation, if you don't know who you are, or you're trying to be somebody else that you see down the street, it's not going to succeed in the long run.
And you've got a thirst for knowledge in this space as well. I was with a guy at a meeting
Curiosity.
yesterday. I was with a guy yesterday who's a practicing real estate agent in Brisbane who doesn't have a website. And, I hadn't really thought about that. I just put it with REA, and I don't really want to spend that money on that stuff anymore. I'm going, wow, no wonder you're on your own, baby. But, so you've got to have a thirst to actually want to explore that stuff and then have natural leadership that says, okay, this is where we're going, and back that pony and ride it home.
Well, I think skepticism is healthy, absolutely, but I think you also have to be open-minded, like he said, into... does this work for me? Does this work for, and maybe it doesn't work for me, but it's what my clients are asking for, or this is what my agents are asking for. If you're a principal, like maybe I need to investigate this further to see, does this actually fit into what we need to be doing, or is this what my clients really want to be doing?
It's funny you talk about that VR piece for us. It's actually the hardest part of the industry to move towards that is actually our agents. And that's where I suppose that leadership piece comes in. But what we've identified is that accessibility to property is a consumer problem. That's something that they want a solution for. And so what we've said is, well, we need to solve problems for our consumers. We've listened, and we listen by way of saying, well, what are our open home numbers like? Or how many times are people wanting to look through property? And it's that accessibility, reducing time in this day and age.
Yeah, reduce the friction.
Yeah, and so we've said, well, how do we reduce barriers? And that's then how we've been able to use technology as a solution. But it certainly, I think that what you said, it does come from leadership, not so much from individual agents and listening to the consumer problem.
Mate, I think it's dehumanising to actually say to a potential tenant or a buyer that the only time you can inspect this house is for 15 minutes between 10:15 and 10:30 this Saturday. That's the only time you can come through. Like, it's 2019, soon to be 2020, folks. We've got technology that's available. We've got tools. You can buy a VR camera for $550.
Yep.
Let's get out of short pants and get a bit serious. And
I want to see it. I want to spend $1 million on a property. Oh, well, you can wait till next Tuesday at 3 p.m. That's not helping the customer.
No, it's not. And so let's market the stuff using the tools of today and make it a better experience, so the consumer can say, yes, let's take the friction out. People want three things today. They want things faster, they want them simpler, and they want them more personalised. And they are the three trends that drive the world: speed, simplicity, personalisation. Let's use it. That's what they want. Let's make it happen. I said before, we've made this industry, my dad said, we've complicated a really simple business of find a seller, find a buyer, put them together. There's all this crap that trainers teach people. Josh, you've heard it in the past, where the trainer says, look, don't make yourself too available as a real estate agent. If someone wants to look at the property at 4, tell them that you're busy at 4, that you're only available at 5. Like, what the
We've taught this entire industry how to, I say it to our guys, the industry has been taught dialogue to manipulate people. And then we sit back scratching our heads going, well, why aren't we trusted?
Like, really? I'm with you.
What do you think? I often think that the consumer can't articulate their problems. If Apple said to me, hey, Josh, we've decided we're going to remove the button from your phone, and we go, whoa, you don't understand me? And now if they put a button back on my phone, it would drive me insane. Like, I love not having a button. It's so much easier. They knew me before I knew. I think that we need to be in front of our consumer to lead. But listening to you guys, knowing the industry so well and broadly, what do you think's the hardest thing for the consumer in real estate today? And potentially this might be an age-old thing. It might be, Tara, through your experience moving 31 times, Peter, or is it something that's really relevant today? What's the most difficult component of buying a property or renting a property?
So the first one is actually getting the agent to respond. Some of the statistics that we hear of, up to 63% of email inquiry to our industry going unanswered. That's challenge number one. So actually getting agents to genuinely respond to the consumer. And I know there'll be agents that will want to beat me up over that, but that's just fact.
But the consumer's not coming out saying, my greatest difficulty is that 63% of people aren't replying to me. They're not even aware, are they? No, it's just what's happening.
Yeah. So number one, it's actually getting responded to, and the second part is finding someone who wants to bloody well listen. Just listen, tell me what the challenges you've got. Tell me why you're doing this. Tell me what are you wanting to achieve, and then actually listening and then trying to solve that problem for them instead of going into sell mode. Let's stop selling to people and let's start building relationships and trying to solve their problems.
Yeah, I think people too want real, authentic information, and it's really hard these days to find that. A lot of research, shows that people begin their journeys on an online space, right? Whether they're researching people or they're researching properties or whatever it is.
Yeah. Dating, houses, cars.
Absolutely. And the thing is, we don't always provide them, especially in the real estate space, anything outside of sometimes the four corners of the house, right? Like, we just don't provide them that information, especially with one of the things that I'm on the road right now, with realestate.com.au, doing a lot of office visits. And one of the things we start with is, where do we start? Well, profiles, your own profile. People go to your About Us pages. People go to even REA's profiles, agent profiles, and things like that on a regular basis, researching about people. And they want to find out more. How can you specifically help me? Why would I choose you versus that agent who's right next door to you?
It's the old complete the sentence. I'm looking for a real estate agent I can
trust.
Boom. You know, and we ask that question time and time again, and it's always the last what people answer, trust. And so what are the things that we do as an industry or as individuals to actually build that trust? Through great profiles, through great testimonials, through active listening, through providing information in a give-to-get mentality, where we're just happy to go online and do some of the awesome videos that you guys have done, where we're just sharing information that makes it easy for people to make decisions.
Understand the process.
From that process, we can sit back and go, I trust him or I trust her. You know, I can look down the barrel of the camera, see the smile in their eyes, and they're actually real, saying, here's the information, this is what you need. And I'm going, bang, you're my dude.
This is how you rent a house in this area. This is what it's going to take if you want to buy something here. You know, these are some of the things that might be different if you're coming from New South Wales or Victoria. You know, here's what happens if you buy in a beachside property, or here's some of the body corporate stuff. You know, it means all this information that's specific to these specific areas, and instead we're like, oh,
let's hide. It's almost if with it, and maybe it's not the hide, but with technology revolution, the information is so accessible, but then through the property experience, there's not that accessibility to information.
Well, there's just so much out there that they're having to dig through all of this stuff, right? And some is from 2009, right? Like that's coming up first in the search results because it's the closest search basically result that to the question that was asked. And that comes back to listening to the client, right? Is what are the questions that they're putting in, whether through voice search, right? Because voice search is rising in Australia, or actually typing into Google and saying, like, what are those actual questions? Then how do we answer them for a local or hyper local space instead of just in a general aspect?
And I think some of the reasons that agents don't embrace that stuff and provide that content is not that they want to be deceptive or not actually provide the contract. I still think there is a huge job ahead of us and the industry to get over the fear factor of sticking our ugly mugs in front of a video camera and saying, hi, I'm 60 and I'm fat, and I'm part balding, but I've got some really cool information to share with you. And let's get over ourselves.
Be vulnerable.
Well, just share the information.
I heard this the other day. I want to share this with you. I'll try to get it right. But in a relationship or in any type of team, one of the a dysfunctional nature of it is the absence of trust, and that's our personal need for invulnerability. So we have a need for invulnerability. And that's our way of saying, well, we want to protect ourselves. And to develop trust, we have to have that vulnerability. And so we've got to overcome our need for invulnerability.
I think that's really
that's
valuable.
where the trust lives in all relationships.
Yep.
Guys, tell me, you just started talking about voice. I don't use it yet. I'm a late adopter. I know I'm Gen whatever something. I'm a little bit younger than you, Peter, but I don't use just a little jab there.
Let's take that spirit out of my heart.
Talk me through this. For somebody that's as ignorant as I am, and not everyone is as ignorant as I am, but on voice. But talk me through it. What is it?
So
well, I should do a test, though. So I've got Siri open here. Do you think I could say, let me just try this,
Oh, no.
Hey Siri, who's the worst real estate agent in Redcliffe? Oh, no, I can't publish that.
No, there's a recent Consumer Commission report from Australia that says over 25% of Australians between the ages 16 to 67 currently use voice search. Right. It's mostly going to be through Siri or Android or Google Home Minis because Amazon Alexas aren't as big here right now. I was just actually reading a report this morning because I'm a nerd and that's what I do, about how, especially in the United States, the rise of voice search even is growing leaps and bounds. And I think I told you it's actually the search is being dominated by two companies in America that they're predicting for 2020, especially Google, which we thought, totally.
Yeah.
Amazon is the other one.
Right.
Because of the rise of Amazon Alexa. And because that's how they ask questions. And so, you don't have that whole phenomenon here right now, but even with Google Minis and with, with your phones and things, people are starting to ask more questions.
We spend time with your parents.
My dad talks to Siri all the time.
your dad talks to Siri more than your dad talks to your mum.
Absolutely.
No way.
And,
Oh, yeah,
and I'll
absolutely.
be sitting
amazing.
having a chat
It's
to your dad and
hysterical.
ask him a question, and he'll just pull. He's got
In his late 70s, yeah.
late 70s, and he'll pull his phone out of his pocket and say, "Hey Siri, how tall is Tom Cruise? Or
Yeah.
whatever."
That's so cool.
And that's just his
Totally.
go-to thing. So
It is. It's hysterical. Oh, and he also uses the voice control on his remote. So
On his TV remote.
for TV, yeah. So because we're hooked into Amazon Fire and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he actually he actually freaks out if it doesn't work anymore. So he uses it all
oh my
voice
God, he'd
control.
have to talk to your mum.
I know. No, my mother would have
It's
it
funny,
fixed.
like
Trust me.
if our phones don't work for a minute, it's like meltdown, isn't it?
No. So imagine it goes a little bit farther, right? But like my mom uses it for voice to text all the time.
Okay.
My grandmother actually sends me emails. I can always tell when she hasn't turned it off yet because you get all these weird, funny words at the bottom of it. Like when she posts to Facebook or even sends me an email, she uses voice to text all the time. It's hysterical.
We have an Amazon Alexa at home and a Google Home Mini at home, and we actually get them talking to each other, just get some conversations.
You walk in, who's the best?
I've
Google Home or Alexa?
Yeah, I've got my calendar hooked up to my Alexa, so I can say, "What's on today, Alexa?" And she'll say, "Well,
That's
today
cool.
you have this at 7 and that at 8 and beer at 9 and
Yeah.
whatever's on." So
And that's just the morning.
9 a.m. Yeah. What's the coolest device or coolest piece of tech that's just going to be not property related, but specifically, what's the coolest tech that's coming?
oh, you want a robot, I think.
Oh, I totally want a robot.
What's the robot going to do for you?
I want lots of robots. Well, I want there's a dinosaur robot and then a
Yeah.
dog robot. And I mean, he won't let me have pets per se.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then at
Yeah,
least
he
I can
won't let you
pets.
have pets because they poo and
No, because we travel
feed
too.
and Oh, right.
Yeah, no, I think for me, one of those. I really want to get one of those robot vacuum cleaners. That for me, that is a serious cool bit of tech. It does, you don't talk to it. You just turn it on, and the house is spotless.
Is that the
Fantastic.
coolest piece of tech? Getting
I
around?
was
I
gonna
mean,
say-
come on.
Well, I
Josh,
get-
this is 60.
Something to look
He's the
forward
guy
to.
he's the guy that lives on that belly to belly. Yeah, we'll ask the nerd.
I really love the ability now to sit in an NBA game from the safety of your own home and with just VR goggles and be able to sit in the front row of an NBA game and watch it, or go to a hockey game, or go to a baseball game, or go wherever and be able to do that. Go to concerts, right?
You're gonna have to show me how to do that.
So like even so the first online concert was just held. I think it was in Fortnite. Was it? Yeah, Marshmallow. And being able to do that, like attend these
You're saying
events.
words
and
I don't
things
know.
like that.
I eat marshmallows. I don't know. Is that the same? Is that a concert or is that a?
It was a concert.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so it was so that ability though to like attend these events and things all across the world and bringing people in
Yeah.
that normally wouldn't have access. And you think about that not only just from an introvert perspective, because I'm an introvert, so I'm like no people, but I could put headset on and be
Yeah,
around
no
people
people.
without being around people.
Right, of course.
But you think about it from an accessibility standpoint as well. People who it's difficult for them physically to be able to travel, or emotionally or mentally for them to be able to travel or be in those groups, but now they can actually have these experiences that they never would be able to have otherwise. That to me, especially what they're doing with aged care and with children who are trapped in hospitals because of illnesses and things like that, being able to take them on adventures and take them places. Like when I went home, I took my VR headset with me because I'm a nerd, and I got my 70-year-old dad in a biplane, a World War I plane basically, as he's like flying basically back and forth in VR
In
and
his lounge room.
Yeah.
in his lounge room. And physically, my dad can't fly anymore, right?
Okay.
He was a flight surgeon.
But he still gets that.
But now he gets to have that rush and that
Yeah.
excitement, basically, of having that with the sound and everything. He was thrilled.
We took the team away to Dreamworld of all places, and I don't know. I thought it was going to be pretty crazy, but they've got this new. It used to be the IMAX cinema, and they've turned it into the Sky Voyage, I think it's called, and it's it's sort of like being in VR, but a little bit different. And one of the ladies in our team started crying. It was that much of an emotional experience. And I've only just bought some VR goggles, but it's out of this world. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. Do you use them, Peter?
Absolutely.
Yes, we both do.
We actually have his and hers
We have
virtual.
his and hers.
Oculus Go's sitting beside our chairs at home.
Yeah.
And we are that much of nerds that Tara says, let's go into a virtual room and have a discussion. I'm going, we're sitting in the same lounge room. Let's
That's
not.
so cool. And you just go wherever. Like, I watched Netflix the other day I only just got the Oculus Quest. I'm so far behind, right? Like, I'm still working out how to use Siri. But I'm sitting there and I'm watching Netflix I think on maybe like a cabin in Montana or something.
Yeah, that's needing.
Yeah. How cool is
It's got the
that?
fireplace going,
Yeah.
get a cup of coffee that's half made there,
Yeah.
steam coming off the top.
Amazing.
Isn't
Amazing.
it cool? It's a real. It does take you physically out of the experience.
Yeah, we could do this podcast let's do that.
Yeah, we
Can we
could.
do that?
We can.
Are we able to do that one day?
Look at it.
I'm getting a yes from
I have a confession. I'll keep it short. I was up in Emerald in the latter part of last year. Emerald in central Queensland. No, I'll keep it clean.
Oh, okay.
And so it's
don't.
I'm up there at my own. It's about 9 o'clock at night. And I've got the Oculus headset on, and I'm in one of these virtual cabins, and I'm on the deck, and I'm looking out, and there's a waterfall coming off the side, and the music's playing, and so I thought, I'm going to go and have a look over the side of the veranda just to see where that waterfall goes to, and bang, I ran into the garage door. I was totally lost in this environment.
Yeah.
I thought I was in a cabin, kind of in Montana, looking over the side, boom, straight into the garage door. So they are really believable.
Oh, they're awesome. Like, people use them on airplanes to get over their anxiety.
course.
Like, so they take them, they charge them up with things. Then they basically say, we put them on as soon as we strap in, and that's it. And then we land and we're fine, because they were just so taken away, basically.
You're just in a whole nother world.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Why aren't people using these in Australia, or are they?
Because we're slow on the take-up.
Is that it?
Yeah, we're slow on the take-up.
I think people don't understand the possibilities, I think, is part of it. I think that there hasn't been as much press put behind what's available in like the Oculus spaces and things, and they are redesigning them again, to try to kind of bring more people in and make it more open for people.
I think every time I've demonstrated my Oculus Go headset to someone, they've grabbed and said, oh my God, that is amazing. And they've done the spit around on the chair with the old roller coasters and the fly planes, and they've gone straight online and bought their own. So I think you've got to experience and go, oh my God, that is quite amazing. You can sit in the front row of a Phil Collins concert. You can do all that kind of stuff. Yep. Your point about aged care, that is actually magnificent. Imagine you and I watched that documentary recently where 4-year-old kids were spending time with people in nursing homes who had kind of checked out of life. And they spent a bit of time with a 4-year-old kid and they go, oh my God, life's amazing. So
and there's almost this touch that can exist. It feels like, I don't know, you've got to experience it, yeah?
Well, and they're working, in Asia, they've already started to incorporate putting sense and everything. So actually appealing to all of your senses at the same time, so you really get the full-on experience. Like even with new developments, not to take it back to real estate, but taking it back to real estate. Yeah. But even with new developments, especially in like New York City, what they've done is they've done, the whole drone shots and things like that. So you get that perspective no matter which or aspect, which floor you're on, but they also have taped the different sounds at the different times of day. So if you're there at 9 a.m., you can hear like people, all the horns and everything going, versus 10 p.m. where you can hear all the horns going. So, but you get a feel for like, okay, so this is what, and again, that goes back to making it easy and accessible for people too, right? Is that it's hard for people who are buying a property to be there at every single time of day. And what's it like during the weekday versus the weekend and all of those kinds of things, because of the whole access issues a lot of times. Being able to give them that sense and being able to give them that ability and say, here's what it's like at 9, here's what it's like at 10, here's what it's like whenever, right? And then you're not physically having to take sellers out of the space and all of that, it's just convenient, right?
It's more accessibility,
Absolutely.
more information, more trust, all those things that you guys have talked about.
And I could do that from Florida, and I could do that from here, and I could do that from wherever, Yeah,
that's so cool. Thank you so much for joining us today, Peter and Tara. Anything else? Do you want to sing happy birthday to Peter?
No, I just, I just think it's been an honour for you, Josh, and I'm pleased you understand that. You're going to jam us out as well. You jammed us in with the 6 string.
Thank you. I'll just.
He's warming up. There he is.
I'm more of a headbanger, actually.
Wow, you could get a job with Akadaka or something.
Tara
That's
Christianson, thank you so much. Peter Brewer, lovely to have you guys.
Josh.
We'll see you in the
Welcome.
VR world.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you.
That's lovely setup.